Picture the letter H, two wings standing on either side, connected by a bar running straight through the middle. Now picture that as a floor plan. One wing for the kids, one wing for the parents. And that crossbar in the middle, that's where everybody actually comes together. The kitchen, the living room, the one shared space the whole family passes through every single day. That's the H-shaped home. It's not new. It's actually one of the oldest layout concepts in residential architecture. But right now, it's having a real moment, with big families building prefab. And once I break down why, I think you'll understand exactly what the appeal is. Before we dig in, if layouts like this are the kind of thing you geek out on, subscribe to Elite Prefab Homes. That's genuinely what keeps this channel making videos like this one. Let's start with where this idea actually came from, because it's a better story than you'd expect. The H-shaped hall house goes back to medieval Northern Europe, sometimes called a double-ended hall house. Wealthy families used this exact layout for a very specific reason. It created a natural, physical barrier between private quarters and public quarters. One wing handled the family's private life. The other wing handled storage, staff, or guest functions, and the connecting hall in the middle handled everything communal. My honest opinion? I love when a design trend turns out to be genuinely old wisdom instead of a new gimmick. Big families have been solving the exact same problem. How do you keep people together without living directly on top of each other for hundreds of years? The H-shape isn't a new answer. It's a very old answer that modern prefab construction just got efficient enough to build affordably. Here's the actual design logic and why it matters so much more for a big family than a couple or a single person. The layout separates communal areas and private bedrooms into distinct wings. That means family members and guests get their own space without disturbing everyone else in the house. One wing can house bedrooms. The other wing can house a second living area, a home office, or even a suite for grandparents or an adult child. The crossbar in the center becomes the natural, unavoidable meeting point, where everyone actually crosses paths throughout the day, whether that's the kitchen, a great room, or a shared dining space. Think about what happens in a small, single-block rectangular home when you've got 6 or 7 people living under one roof. Every hallway is a bottleneck. Every bedroom door is right next to another bedroom door. There's no such thing as quiet. The H-shape solves that by design, not by square footage. You're not necessarily building a bigger house. You're building a smarter-shaped house. My favorite feature of this whole concept, that central crossbar acting as the mandatory gathering space. In a lot of modern homes, families accidentally design themselves into separate corners, everyone in their own room, on their own device. An H-shape makes the shared space the one room you can't avoid walking through. That's not an accident. That's smart behavioral design hiding inside an architectural choice. Here's a benefit of this shape that has nothing to do with family dynamics and everything to do with basic physics. Because the H-shape has 2 projecting wings instead of one solid rectangular block, it naturally creates more exterior wall surface relative to the home's footprint. That means more opportunities for windows on multiple sides of every room, which floods the home with natural light in a way a deep, boxy floor plan simply can't match. It also promotes genuine cross-ventilation. Air can move through the home from one wing to the other, which helps with comfort and can meaningfully cut down on cooling costs, depending on your climate. My honest take? A lot of open concept, natural light, marketing in home design is just marketing. This one's different. The light and airflow benefit here is a direct, physical result of the shape itself, not a styling choice you add after the fact, with big windows. You get it almost automatically, just from picking this floor plan over a standard rectangle. Now let's connect this to why prefab specifically is the right construction method for this layout. because that's the actual news here. An H-shaped home is essentially 3 connected sections, 2 wings, and a crossbar. That structure maps almost perfectly onto how modular and panelized prefab construction already works. Each wing can be manufactured as its own module, or set of modules, built and finished on a factory floor, then transported and connected on-site, along with the central crossbar section. Compare that to trying to build an H-shape with a single, traditional on-site crew working in sequence. You're now managing 3 distinct sections of framing, roofing, and finishing, instead of one simple rectangular footprint. More complexity, more time, more chances for costly mistakes. Prefab sidesteps almost all of that by manufacturing each wing as a repeatable, controlled unit and simply connecting them on-site. My opinion? This is exactly the kind of floor plan prefab construction was built to handle well. Complex shape, modular structure, repeatable sections. It's a much better match than trying to force a totally custom, one-off design through a factory production line. Let's talk about why this shape is specifically popular right now, not just historically. More families today are living multi-generationally. Grandparents, adult children, or extended family, sharing one property, often for cost or caregiving reasons. The H-shape is genuinely ideal for this. One wing can function almost like a self-contained suite, with its own bedroom, bathroom, and even a small kitchenette, while still connecting to the shared central spaces for meals and family time. That gives an older parent or an adult child real privacy and independence, without needing to build 2 completely separate structures on the property. Design mistake I see people make constantly when trying to accommodate multi-generational living without an H-shape. Bolting on a small addition or converting a garage and ending up with an awkward, disconnected space that feels like an afterthought instead of an intentional part of the home. The H-shape avoids that entirely, because the separation is built into the original design, not patched in later. Here's something worth knowing if you start shopping floor plans, because you'll see a lot of variation under this same umbrella. Some H-shaped plans use a central wing that extends further than the 2 side wings, creating a shape more like 2 T-shapes facing away from each other. That variation typically adds extra central living space, which works well for families who entertain often. Other versions connect the 2 wings at one end instead of leaving both ends open, creating a U-shape that wraps around a central courtyard. Ideal if privacy and outdoor living matter more to you than maximizing interior square footage. My honest opinion? Don't get locked into thinking H-shape means one rigid layout. Think of it as a family of related shapes, all solving the same core problem: separating private and communal space, with different trade-offs around courtyards, central room size, and how open or enclosed you want that middle connecting space to feel. Okay, here's the mistake I really want you to hear clearly, because I see it constantly with H-shaped and courtyard-style plans. People get so excited about the wings and the privacy separation that they under-design the crossbar, the connecting middle section. That center space is doing the heaviest lifting in this entire layout. It's your kitchen, your main living area, probably your main entrance too. If you treat it as just a hallway connecting 2 wings, instead of the actual heart of the home, you end up with a beautiful private set of bedrooms attached to a cramped, awkward middle that nobody wants to spend time in. Spend your design budget and your square footage where it actually matters. A generous, well-lit, well-furnished central crossbar is what makes this whole shape work. Skimp there, and you've built 2 nice wings connected by a hallway, not an actual H-shaped family home. Quick practical note before we wrap up the design side, because this shape does add real site considerations you need to plan for. An H-shape needs more total exterior wall length and a more complex foundation footprint than a simple rectangle of the same square footage. That generally means somewhat higher foundation and framing costs per square foot compared to a basic rectangular prefab build, even though the layout benefits are real. You're also going to want a lot, with enough width to actually accommodate 2 projecting wings. A narrow, deep lot can make this shape awkward, or force you to compress the wings more than you'd like. Before committing to this shape specifically, walk your actual lot dimensions against the floor plan dimensions. This sounds obvious, but I've seen people fall in love with a rendering and only realize the wing spacing doesn't fit their actual property after they've already put down a deposit. Let's directly compare this against the more common rectangular prefab layout, because that's really the choice most big families are weighing. A rectangular prefab is generally cheaper per square foot, faster to manufacture since it's the simplest possible shape, and easier to expand later with a straightforward addition. But for a genuinely large family, 5, 6, 7 people under one roof, that simplicity often means noise, lack of privacy, and every bedroom fighting for the same limited hallway space. The H-shape costs a bit more per square foot, and it takes a slightly more coordinated prefab manufacturing and assembly process. What you get in return is genuine acoustic and visual separation between family zones, better natural light and airflow across the whole home, and a layout that scales gracefully into multi-generational living if your family situation changes down the road. My honest verdict? If you're a couple or a small family, the rectangular prefab is probably still your best value. But once you're talking about a genuinely big household, or a multi-generational one, the H-shape's extra cost buys you something that's genuinely hard to retrofit later. Real separation, without sacrificing togetherness. So why are big families actually switching to this shape? Because it solves a problem that's centuries old. How do you keep a large household together without everyone living on top of each other? And modern prefab construction finally makes that shape affordable and fast to build, instead of something reserved for custom architectural commissions. It's not the cheapest shape you can build. It's not the fastest to design. But if you've got a big family and you're tired of choosing between everyone's crammed together and everyone's isolated in their own corner, this layout is one of the smartest architectural answers I've come across for that exact problem. If breakdowns like this help you think through your own build, that's exactly what Elite Prefab Homes is here for. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Would an H-shaped layout actually work for your family? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.